I'm Nadine, and welcome to Notable Quotables, where you share your favorite motivational moments from the YOGI MD Podcast. Today, my guest is James Tennant, and he is going to share his favorite moments from the episode Yoga for Arthritis with Dr. Steffany Moonaz.
Everybody picks up different things.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just, I would think that you seem to really care about your guests and the information that they're bringing forth. And so um, to also hear from other people that have listened to the podcast, what they picked up on or what they kind of honed in on, I would think would also be really interesting. Um, I don't, when I listen to something like this, I'm like, why am I not a podcast person? Because because there's so many things that I could talk about in this particular podcast. I think so many of the things that she was saying um, really struck a chord with my um, experience working with people that are in chronic pain for a number of reasons, whether it's arthritis or whether it's something else that feels like at times in their life is very debilitating. Prati Pakshna Bhavana. Do you remember when she talked about that concept as a tool that she felt was like really helpful? She talked so much about body and mind, and that's overall that's just what I really felt connected to, because somebody can come in to me and say, I have these physical issues, and I can set them up with asana and pranayama and help them in those ways. But the component that can be so powerful and so potent in her point was, making sure that we're also conditioning the mind ultimately and how this loop works, with the brain and stress and pain, and that connection between stress and pain. And so anytime a doctor or a scientist mentions something from the Yoga Sutras, I'm like, yeah, that's what I want to know about. Like that's something I know those words. Says basically if negative thoughts are rising up, to then move to more positive ways of thinking, to basically stop that loop of these negative thinking, because this is creating your reality, right? And I think this is a really hot topic, and it's become very popular in modern society because um, the law of attraction and all these more modern ways that get talked about it, and it also gets very simplified. Just like if you want $1 million, then just say you want $1 million every day, all the time, and $1 million will come to you. It's like, okay. But two words that I think are really important is vitarka, which means thought, or like a thought process or mental activities. And the other word, bhavana, which was a word that I've always loved. There's something about saying the word. There's something about the word that just like, it's like, I don't know, it's kind of sexy in a way. I don't know why I always love it, but bhavana, it's this word that I really love in Sanskrit. And that word actually translates to feeling. The feeling is really what is important, and it's not just the thought. And to make the distinction between the two, it's that the feeling is really more potent, right? I mean, we can know things intellectually, or we can say things to ourselves, but it's how we feel that is creating the reality, and um, is strengthening, right? The how we are, what the dynamic is, or what the experience is for us, and you know, reflecting and observing our thoughts, and then taking action steps and and um, using those using that reflection and observation to then shift um, those thoughts to create a different effect. Um, and that's at the root of it, right? Cause and effect is kind of, I feel like, rooted in that sutra, or that concept. Really, I think for me supports so much of what she was talking about in the podcast, of that asana. It can be and is really effective in terms of strengthening tissue, strengthening joints, bringing blood flow, bringing awareness, even, and positive and supportive awareness to areas in our body. But as she kept going on, in reference to how when people are dealing with chronic pain, that it's just not a physical thing, but it's affecting how we socialize. It's affecting where we put our effort. It's affecting, um, how we're able to move through our daily routine, um, and and then ultimately how we are thinking and how we are engaged in all of those things. What kind of mental attitude, or what kind of thought processes are we having um, through all those activities? So it, her reflection of, the whole body and the whole system of yoga, like we have to look at both um, in order to, I think, really um, be as potent as we can when we're looking at remedies and when we're looking at ways of approaching health.